Hey guys, welcome to Connecting the Dots, the podcast where we follow the breadcrumbs and try to predict where disruptions will take us. Last month, I published part 1 of an interview I had after AI Day with a friend of mine. This friend is an exceptionally bright CTO and co-founder of an emerging Greentech company. She is extremely forward-looking and has unique insights, so discussing disruptions with her is always a treat. But our talk about AI Day was much more than that. My friend's company is on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence development. She takes pride in hiring truly exceptional AI developers, which she calls AI designers. And she knows the intricacies of the AI scene. This provides her with a unique point of view and gives her unique and eye-opening insights regarding AI Day and Tesla's future. In a nutshell, she sees Tesla building an extremely strong AI group that will suck talent from everywhere and enable Tesla to build the bot, win AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and become the largest company the world has ever known. With a market cap so big, it's hard to grasp outside the realms of science fiction. Consequently, her company took the proactive move of revising their long-term plans to better fit with Tesla's. Moreover, as private investors, she, her CEO, and everyone in the know are currently hoarding Tesla stocks, which in the long run, they expect to reach absurdly high numbers of 100 times the current stock price, 1,000 times, or even higher. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, there's a link in the card above, and I fully suggest watching it. The current video continues our discussion and is the second one of 3 videos. I'll do my best to release the 3rd video shortly. This video is divided into 2 distinct sections. The first section continues our discussion of AI Day topics and answers questions such as, what was the most striking thing in AI Day? Was ditching radar and Lidar smart? How good is Tesla's AI tech? Will Tesla make their own chips? Project Dojo, and general thoughts of Tesla as a company. While insights into Tesla's tech are interesting and valuable information for Tesla investors, I find the second section much more valuable for my investment decisions, as it provides an outsider's view on Tesla's risks. If you're half as bullish as I am, it could be worthwhile to balance your optimism about the stock, with some risks you should keep an eye on. This section discusses which risk does Tesla face on its way to the moon? Elon as an asset. What happens to Tesla if something happened to Elon? Elon as a liability. What things that he does could hurt the company? Herbert Diess as a potential CEO. Why public opinion is more important than we think. Political, legislative, and regulative risks. Your time is valuable, so timestamps are available for your convenience. I found this discussion extremely interesting and eye-opening. It includes moonshots and far-fetched ideas, but I'm used to getting these from my friend. I'm also used to seeing most of her predictions being proven right as time passes, and her track record with me makes her inputs extremely important for my investments. In fact, her predictions have already started to take shape. In part 1, she said that with AI Day, Tesla slammed their magnet to the ground midfield, made it bigger, and will start sucking talent all over. And in Q3 earnings call, Zach confirmed that following the event, they saw an over 100-fold increase in their job applications for AI positions. I'll talk a lot about Tesla's future growth and valuation, and where I think the stock will go, but I'm only bringing you my friend's opinion and mine. I'm just a random guy on the internet, and none of this is investment advice. So do your own research before making any investment decisions. Also, if you're looking for short-term stock trading, just leave, because this post is for long-term investing only. If you haven't done that already, please subscribe to the channel and smash the like button to support it. It really helps the channel. Also consider supporting me on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. It'll really help me invest more time into delivering more quality content faster. And now comes the part where I tell you to buckle up and get ready, because disruption is never boring. But this time, remember to hold on extra tight, because we're in for a Plaid-level ride, and nothing is faster than Plaid. To clarify, when I'm doing the talking and when these are her words, I'll mark my words like this, and I'll mark her words like this. The part 1 video discussed how my friend thinks Tesla will now ramp its AI hiring and pull exceptional talent from around the world. Continuing from that, I asked my friend what most struck her on AI Day, besides Tesla's hiring and determination to become a global AI leader. Her reply was, first things first, their overall effort. I never saw any company take such a complete overall approach to AI and tackling all aspects. Tesla designed the sensor suite, the AI chip, the AI stack, training and data collection, labeling, even the training hardware. I'm sure that as a Tesla fan and an engineer, you feel it's mind-blowing. But for me, it's beyond that. I see what's normally done, and it's beyond anything any of the FAANG companies do. And I know how hard it is to go for a holistic approach, and that's beyond anything I can do. Looking at the sheer effort, there are so many feelings. It's mind-blowing. It fills me with envy, and it gives me hope. I am so happy that Tesla is doing this, and not the likes of Facebook. And I talked about hiring, but even before future hiring, they already have an extremely good team. If I could, I would gladly hire just about every one of those that presented. Don't ask me on what topic I'll have them. I can easily find stuff in current projects or even start new ones just for the hire. Some of these are worth starting a project for. Don't try reading into this as if I'm poaching them from Tesla. I won't even try it, but not because it's too hard. Nothing is impossible if truly important, and we already poached people from Apple, Google, Facebook, you name it. But it's important for the world that Tesla succeeds with autonomous driving, bot, and AGI. And more specifically, it's now important for me that Tesla succeeds with the bot and that I know who's doing what on their team. Maybe later we'll try getting someone to fill in the blanks, but regardless, I want them to succeed, and I want my journey to converge with theirs. Besides a great team, they have a very tight focus. Very impressive, reaching what they have with a relatively small group. It speaks for some great management inputs on knowing where to go and which roads should be avoided. Losing Lidar and radar is a great example of how their thinking works. First, if you go by first principles, you see that humans don't have Lidar, so there's no need to assume that cars must have it. But the question remains whether using current tech, this can be done by vision alone. So they explore beyond current tech, and there's this pseudo-LiDAR paper that I'm sure they used. If you wish, I can send it to you. It's pretty interesting. And they compared the results to LiDAR, and lo and behold, it performed well enough. So they know it isn't needed. So the next question is, isn't it worth it to have it at least as a fallback? Here, you need to be smart enough to know that additional data isn't always good. It really isn't like what most people say that whoever has the most data wins. It's whoever has the largest clean set of useful data wins. And you have to know that having duplicate columns slows you down, and sometimes losing that data is much better. Every one of these steps is an extremely important management decision, and it speaks wonders that they took this path. They have great focus and also huge balls. It's not a coincidence that no other company did this. Most companies don't realize that it's better to lose that data. Mobileye realizes it, but they don't have the balls to do that. I said that I'm glad to see she supports Tesla's dropping Lidar and radar. Her answer was, yes, of course. I'm not even talking about unit and assembly costs. Keeping the sensors would have held Tesla back. We have our own dedicated system that we use to check our training data next to the outcome and flag any columns which are redundant and can be dropped. I bet it would ring the alarm, so to speak, on Lidar and radar. But I haven't finished what struck me in AI Day, besides Tesla's team and managerial focus. And that's, of course, the bot and their determination to win the race to solve AGI. Team, recruiting, and management only mean they are capable of doing stuff. The bot, autonomous driving, and AGI are that stuff. I said that she's always coming back to people, but how about Tesla's AI techniques, and how far ahead are they? She answered, that's because talking techniques is backward-looking, while the team defines the future. Their techniques are advanced, but it might surprise you if I say that what they showed is already yesterday's news. Things run fast here. For example, once papers get peer-reviewed for publishing in journals, they are already obsolete. So to avoid this, we publish first and peer review later. Things change ultra-fast, and the change is exponential. Tesla are cutting edge, that's for sure. But most things aren't unheard of, and it's not like they're ahead of everyone and everything. Even we, and we're small, already did ourselves several things that they showed, some of them for a long time. For example, working on fused data, including time, what they call 4D, and then disseminating perceptions from the fusion layer to data from all relevant sources. Chances are that we did this before Tesla. As a matter of fact, I was surprised they arrived at it so late. I didn't check why, but my guess is it took them time to get rid of legacy methods from previous systems. 4D we had long before AI Day, and once AI Day was out, we also added other stuff that we found useful. There's a lot of constructive copying in this space. We all learn from each other and implement our own flavor of everything we like. Clarifying for your audience that I'm not into autonomous driving, but there's a lot of learning in AI. Another thing is that as transparent as they were, I'm 100% certain that they didn't show us the latest and greatest in everything. They only showed enough to make AI Day effective for hiring exceptionals, and they have a few other things that they were hush about. My friend normally picks her words carefully, so I pointed out to her that 100% certain means that she isn't assuming that they have more advanced things that they didn't show us, but rather she knows it. My friend beamed at my picking up the cookie that she left for me and answered, "I can't comment on that. Let's move on." I must add that Tesla's methodology is impressive. They are extremely thorough, with people on top keeping tight focus, providing good direction on where to go and what options to leave aside. There are a million roads they could take, and there's no chance of covering them all, and their internal compass, which tells them which roads to check, is impressive. Very impressive. I have that compass too, but there's only so much I can do myself, so I need more people like that. You have that compass too, and you're not in AI, but you learn fast, so you'll learn quickly how to steer the AI guys if you join us. She then proceeded with her usual suggestion that I join them, and I gave my usual reply that we should discuss it after I retire from my current job. She never gives up, but to be honest, I'm not high up on her list. More important to her at this stage are exceptional AI designers, not engineering managers like me. I moved to another topic and asked her whether Tesla will make their own chips. She seemed puzzled at my even asking this, and then replied, "Isn't it obvious?" Okay, let's break it down. First, why would they want it? The answer is owning the full stack, vertical integration, risk mitigation, by having more control over their own destiny. Tesla is extremely vertically integrated, even in minor items, so everything being equal, sure, they would love to make themselves something as central as the chip. But wanting isn't doing. I'm sure you'll agree with me that they would want to do it, and it's just a matter of, will it be worthwhile for them? In other words, can they deliver the required quality at an early enough time? And if so, will the price be on par or cheaper than buying from others, or at least not too expensive as to invalidate the upsides? If you're asking about next year's chip, then they won't do it. It's too much of a stretch. But if you're looking down the road so that they have some time from greenlighting it until the chip is ready, then take it as a done deal that they'll get the quality. No question whatsoever about it. And since they want it and can get the quality, it all boils down to unit price. Okay, so let's say you design a special chip and want 100 units of it for testing and whatnot. Will you produce it yourself? Of course you won't, because the entry costs are too high. Arranging a team, a fab, getting it to work perfectly, all of that takes a lot of time and money, and spreading it over 100 chips would make it unbelievably expensive. But now let's say you want to make as many chips as the entire global chip industry combined. Do you see where I'm getting at? If Tesla makes 500,000 cars, they're better off letting others make the chips. But if they make 20 million cars? I didn't do the math, but making the chips themselves seems pretty worthwhile. And cars are peanuts, really, compared to bots. You only need, how many? 100 million cars a year? But bots, you need as many as you can make. It's endless. So yeah, if they make 1 billion robots, there's no chance in hell that they'll let someone else make its main circuit board. For Dojo, it all depends on how much learning they need to do as they scale bots to infinity. For current scale, they really don't need to make the chips themselves. But if they're scaling to seemingly infinite bots with all-around capabilities, will require seemingly infinite learning. They'll need seemingly infinite chips for their own use, and they'll make them. But I'm not sure they'll do all that hyper-learning by scaling Dojo. I have some other ideas about this, but that's for another time. By the way, there's also another option for reducing unit price besides making a huge number of units, and that's reducing fab price by finding some breakthrough manufacturing method which makes it cheaper. I don't expect Tesla to introduce this, but disruption is like the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
I don't expect Tesla to introduce this, but disruption is like the Spanish Inquisition. Looking at timelines, chips have been made the same old way for too long, with only gradual improvements. So I wouldn't rule out Tesla trying to disrupt this via a new manufacturing method that either makes better chips or makes them cheaper. I'm not into this topic and really didn't check their hiring, but any breakthrough will definitely interest me. So if your viewers know anything about Tesla's hiring chip-producing experts, let me know any names or info you can get. You might ask why they would invest in disrupting this industry when just making a fab would be enough to control their destiny and prevent chip shortage. And I'll tell you why. Lead time. Current lead time is horrible, and I'm no expert in this, but AIK current technology is ancient. There must be a better way. I asked her for her thoughts about Dojo. Wow, that's a strong one. It could well be a game changer. You have no idea how much money we poured into AWS and Azure's pockets. I don't deal with this, but chances are that more than we pay our developers, and the worst part is they're subpar. You always feel like next year things will get faster and cheaper, but next year arrives and your needs grow faster than their service, so you end up paying more and waiting longer. It's well worth it because you get much better results, but it's a lot to pay, and mostly the training takes too long. That, by the way, is another reason against Lidar. If you don't really need it, then dump it, because it slows down your learning. If Tesla has their own dedicated, purpose-built AI training hardware, that would be a huge lead for them over others. You have no idea. I asked whether she plans to use it once they go public. Her answer was, I'd love that, but not setting my hopes high. First, Tesla will use it for their own projects only. Then by the time it's stable, they'll have even more projects, and each one will need even more training, so they wouldn't be able to free them for others. What's more, Tesla isn't Amazon, which sells litter boxes for cats, and having AWS is huge business for them. Tesla is on a mission, and having engineers work at customer support explaining to some clueless person that they aren't getting enough CPUs because they set some throttling on it, all this is a distraction. Sure, they can make money off it, but they'll make even more money if they focus on their mission. As I said, I would love to get access and can sign any waiver they'll give me to remove liability and ensure that I don't use their support, but I'm not setting my hopes high at this stage. If our long-term plan will succeed, we'll get Dojo or something similar one way or another. But let's discuss my plans after we finish the Tesla stuff. I asked her for her thoughts on Tesla as a company, not as an investment opportunity or someone in competition with her for talent. Her answer was split into two parts, one about the current Tesla and one about the possible future of the company. I'll give her answer about the future in the next video, but regarding the current company, she said that she really likes them. They provide excellent products that their customers love. Her mom is the proud owner of a Model 3 LR and will never buy another car. She believes they are honest in their mission to clean up Earth for us. Their tech is excellent, really forward-looking. They do have issues. Mostly they don't know how to handle PR. I'll go into this deeper when we get to talk about Elon. I asked her what risks she sees Tesla having. Her answer was, 1. Something happening to Elon before they are deep into winning AGI. 2. Government regulations. US scares me more than China, but it could be everywhere. Further down the road, it could even be antitrust laws. 3. Finally, it's Elon doing stupid shit. I asked her to elaborate. Regarding what happens if something happens to Elon, she answered that it depends on when it happens. They seem to have a great team regardless of him, and she's not too worried about Tesla cars, energy, and storage. They'll even get to autonomous driving without him. But that's really child's play compared to solving AGI and the bot, and if something happens to Elon before reaching that, it could delay both efforts by several years. Regarding the stock, it will undoubtedly crash. Whether it can climb back to its previous levels or more depends a lot on how much future growth was priced in at the time and at what stage of maturity Elon leaves the company. I asked what she thought about Herbert Diess possibly replacing Elon. Her answer was, unfortunately, I really don't have time for cars nowadays, besides hanging out in the community, so I don't really know Diess, and I could be completely mistaken on this one. My general impression is that he could be the perfect Tim Cook to run Tesla, but the question remains on who will be Tesla's Steve Jobs. If Elon stays, and Diess or some other Tim Cook frees Elon up to manage technical aspects, this could be a huge win for Tesla. But if Elon leaves or something happens to him before bot and AGI are won, Diess wouldn't help with that. I asked her to elaborate on her thoughts about Elon, and also about the risk she saw of him doing stuff. Here's what she answered, and in the background, I'll show something similar she wrote sometime later to a friend on Facebook. The short answer is, he's one of the greatest persons in our century, but the long answer is a mixed bag. I like him. I admire him. I'm mad as hell at him, and I somewhat fear him. You don't need me to tell you or your friends about the first two, so I'll mainly talk about the latter two. But don't get me wrong, the first two far outweigh the latter. I'll elaborate about the latter only because that's where I see you needing my 2 cents. I like him because he's a very positive human being, extremely open and straightforward. He means well, and I believe that he really is working for the greater good, not just for himself. We are all in a leaking boat, and anyone who realizes that grabs a bucket, and starts doing their best should be credited for that, not questioned and ridiculed. Not to mention that Elon didn't just grab a bucket, he's doing far more than his share. He's also very human, very accessible, flaws and all. He wants even junior engineers to stand for their beliefs if they think he's wrong. I love that. Too many managers put rank before truth and lead their armies into oblivion, so I really love that. Also, I admire his abilities and perseverance. You guys often compare me to Elon, but really I haven't accomplished anything compared to him. Sure, I'm younger and I started late, but I really am so far away from reaching his level. Realistically, my IQ could be higher than his, but IQ alone doesn't mean much. It's what you do with it. Elon is technically bright, but he's also a kick-ass manager, while I excel only as CTO. But Elon does this and much more by himself. He's extremely forward-looking, willing to put his ass on the line, hard-working. There's nobody else that I know of that can execute anything like Elon. But I'm also mad at him. Look, I know my limitations, and I act around them, so I don't let my dark sides show. Elon consistently does, and that's not right. I'll start with some small things and then go to heavier stuff, which as far as Tesla goes are a real risk. He uses Twitter to chill with his friends, but stuff like that 420 tweet, that's not smart. What would have happened if SEC succeeded in kicking him out of the CEO spot for that? That could have hurt the mission. Every time he's on a tweet storm, and not just tweeting, that's the dark side. Like me off my pills when I go dark. If you ask me or anyone who knows me what's my company's biggest asset, they'll say that I am. And if you ask them what's my company's biggest risk, they'll answer the same. Including investors, by the way. They know what they got into. I'm very transparent, so don't you dare delete a single word about this trying to protect me, or the entire interview is off. I'm showing my faults and how I deal with them as an example of what I'll say about Elon, so don't you dare erase a single word there either. I have my issues, but I'm a grown-up now, and people that I care about depend on me, and I have a mission, so I actively avoid going dark. For example, I know Facebook brings out the dark in me, so I stopped all my long posting on Facebook, and I don't look at my feed at all. I only check a few friends to keep in touch, and the guys in the car community. And I know my limitations, so I surround myself with protective layers to make sure I don't go dark. I went so far as marrying a psychiatric nurse for this. Hitting on her was all wacko, because it was the logical decision that I took, long before madly falling in love with her. It's something like a gold digger deciding to hit on a rich guy, only it wasn't gold that I wanted from her. It was to help keep me in the light, which is much better than gold. That's why I took, as CEO, someone who's not only better than me at this role, but also won't hesitate to kick my butt if I start straying. That's also why I always take my pills on time, and everyone around me is trained like a police dog to sniff the faintest whisper of me being off them. And I know that I slouch when too comfy. So before I got full blast on my mission, I fought with our legal guy and took less than minimum wages as if I was working part-time. I was CTO of a nicely funded startup, but we lived on my wife's junior nurse salary just so I don't feel comfy and forget to work. I said all this just to show that I'm much crazier than Elon, but he has a dark side too, and he should know to avoid it better. Considering that crazy me got into much less trouble than he did in recent years, that says a lot. And all this can affect Tesla and their mission in so many ways. Public opinion, regulators, enabling competition to pass them. If you think Tesla is so far ahead that nobody can touch them, you have no idea. That's hubris, the most lethal of the deadly sins. This also goes hand in hand with the other risk I talked about, which is government and regulators. One thing I learned is never feel cocky with governments when they are the ones writing the rules. Elon has Asperger, which has its pros, but he really should deal with the cons, like I do with my admittedly larger ones. I'll give you a small example. He recently visited the new Brandenburg factory, along with Merkel's heir apparent, Armin Laschet, and when Laschet asked about fuel cells, Elon burst into laughter, ridiculed the question, and called them fool cells. Then a reporter asked him about water preservation, and he burst out laughing again, saying there's no water shortage. To you and other Elon fans, this might seem like crazy fun, only it's far from that. Both Laschet and the water thing went nationwide. Laschet got ridiculed in forums and TV shows. All this just before elections. People in general, but especially politicians, may not remember favors, but they'll forever remember being publicly ridiculed. From the CEO of a company wanting to do business in Germany, I expect better. If Laschet wins, how willing would he be to give Tesla concessions in cases where the decision could go both ways? Nobody forced Elon to bring politicians to that event, But if he brought Laschet, instead of making it a win-win for both and winning a friend, he made it a lose-lose and made a secret enemy. And let's talk the water issue. I'm sure Tesla fans cheered when Elon stood there in the rain and said the truth as it is, that there isn't a water issue. There's so much rain. But funnily enough, he's dead wrong about this. How do you guys say, be less wrong, Elon? And in this case, it was a fiasco. Germany is rainy, and Elon visited here in the rain, and in a year with floods in the west. But the truth is that central and especially eastern Germany, where the factory is located, have been in water deficit for several years. Many people are concerned about it. Not just the green fanatics, and it's not just a case of haters trying to stop Tesla, as some of you might think. And I checked. Tesla bent over backwards to preserve water in its plant. So when that reporter asked Elon a question that seriously concerns many people, he could have said that and reaped rewards of the hard work they did. Not to mention, he could have mentioned the overall green culture in Tesla. That could have been a win too. And a real pro, as I would expect him to be, would have mentioned that over 50% of the water abstraction in Germany is for power supply, and then say that if Tesla brings solar and batteries in scale to Germany, this would actually solve the water problem for decades to come. That could have been a huge win, not just with green crazies, but also with mom and pop watching TV at home. But instead of scoring a win for all the hard work and gaining supporters, he ridiculed people's concerns and beliefs and made enemies out of them, especially since politics nowadays have become cancel culture. Sort of like, if you mess with my camp, I automatically treat you as Satan. With many people who aren't Tesla fans, but also not haters, Elon came out as the stereotypical American aggressor that doesn't give a about the locals and their problems. You asked me before what I thought about AI Day, and I said that I should judge it by the reason for having it, which was recruitment. And by that measure, it was brilliant. So why did they even have this public event at the factory, with Laschet and the reporters? If they did it publicly, this means they wanted to gain support. And if they went through it and the result is ridiculing a politician and making an enemy out of him, and also ridiculing the concerns that many Germans have on a real issue of multi-year water deficit, I call that a bloody fiasco. AI Day was brilliant, but this public appearance was a bloody fiasco. And this goes hand in hand with Tesla not having a PR department. I don't mean ads, I mean there are many reporters who just need to write something and need the data. And without a contact, the only data they can get is from those who do have PR, the Tesla haters. Yes, I know you guys think that a PR department will just give the haters more to write about, but that's wrong. Here's a story that happened a few weeks ago. I want your opinion on it. An oil tanker spilled several thousand gallons of oil in the North Sea, and in the news, they speculated that it wasn't even an accident, but rather that the fuckers washed their tanks and intentionally spilled the oil into the sea. Pretty awful. The reporters contact AROL and BP to answer whether this was an accident or intentional, but they refused to comment. What's your take on this? I mean, was it intentional or not? And why didn't they at least provide some cookie-cutter answer about it? No need to answer. I'm sure you think they're guilty as hell, but they knew that anything they say will be used against them. So instead of omitting it in the news or lying and then get crucified for their lies, they chose to remain silent. No need to search for this story because I just made it up. But you see what I mean? Mom and pop seeing a car catch on fire on the news, and instead of Tesla giving a cookie cutter, our cars have lower chance of fire than any ICE car, they're the safest cars ever tested in Tsla, we are sorry for any losses and will cooperate with the authorities to find the cause for this fire, the reporter says, we contacted Tesla and they refused to appear on our show or even comment. And public opinion is important. I'll explain why in a second, but first let me push this through with something you told me. Remember telling me how when you first started out as a young engineer, you thought it would be enough to do a great job at work, and it took you some time to realize that others that aren't half as good as you but actively sold their achievements, or kissed ass to the bosses, or were just friends with them, got promoted before you? I told you it was naive thinking that. People higher up aren't always aware of how good your work is, but they do hear the guy next to you is doing wonders. And people have emotions and prejudices, and they promote the guy that they like, or at least is more like them. So saying, I'm good so I'll be treated fairly, is naive. But ridiculing people, especially politicians, and then expecting them to treat you fairly is super naive. And ridiculing people's concerns and them expecting them to think well of you because you really are good, that too is super naive. And leaving any accusation that gets thrown at you in the news without even a cookie-cutter answer, and then expecting mom and pop to believe you are good is also super naive. And when someone smart acts this way, it's not just naivety, it's definitely Aspie territory. Your followers might eat me alive for this, but guys, grow up. My sister's an Aspie, And let me tell you, Asperger's isn't just about having crazy ideas which could work. It has disadvantages too, especially when it comes to communications. So Elon is super amazing in so many ways, but deciding that the rules aren't fair so I ain't playing and leaving the stage to the haters is not one of them. And always keep in mind the 95% to 5% rule. I'm sure you and your friends, and even Elon, might think that Tesla can sell as many cars as they can make for years to come, and that you just need butts and seats to make people love Tesla. So why even bother with public opinion and PR? And why even care what slimy politicians think about you? I'll tell you why. But first I'll ask, why not? I mean, if you do 95% of the work, why not do that extra 5% and get credit for it? I mean, if you bent over backwards to preserve water in Grunheide, and Tesla Energy could solve Germany's entire water problem, why not do the easy work and get credit for it? Is it that smart to instead help your haters by actively painting yourself as someone who doesn't give a damn? And if you fly to Germany and meet with a politician, why not do the easy work and finish the photo op with a smile that's win-win for both of you? Is it that smart to instead help your haters by actively making him your enemy? And if you go so far as make your cars safer than any other car in the world, why not do the easy work of providing a cookie-cutter answer saying so? Is it that smart to instead help your haters by declining to even comment when accused of fires? Remember the oil tanker example I gave and how it made you feel. So that was the why not. But here's why Tesla should really care about public opinion, which also brings me full circle to your original question, which was risks. There are two reasons. I'll start with the less important one. First thing is what I said, that if you think that doing a great job is enough to get ahead, that's naive, because what others think about you doesn't always reflect reality. I'm not saying Tesla should sell turds like other OEMs and get PR through ads. They're right in making a great product that sells itself. But you have no idea how much bad public opinion there is against Tesla. And I don't mean the haters or the oil guys. I'm active in car forums. That's how I chill. And if grown up, honest, and intelligent friends are not Tesla or EV haters, and they tell me they see EVs as the future, but it seems like Tesla doesn't care about its customers, and they wouldn't want to buy a car from that company, and these feelings are so deep-rooted that it doesn't matter how much I tell them that support problems were because this company is growing faster than anything in history, and it doesn't matter if I tell them how much my mom loves her car and the company, or about the good they are doing. If Tesla's the best, but public opinion is skewed like that, then clearly something is wrong. And sure, driving a Tesla could change that, but these good, honest, and intelligent guys don't even want to try them. And soon there will be Chinese EVs everywhere, and if the same people try a good Chinese EV first, they'll become their customers for life, not Tesla's. But that's not the main reason public opinion is important, which is regulators. This one is important. As I said before, one thing I learned is never feel cocky with governments when they are the ones writing the rules. Cockiness is especially dangerous when you're in the lead because A, you feel strong, so why should you care? And B, this puts focus on you because if you're strong, politicians either think of you as their ally or a potential danger. I mean, my company is small, and I don't expect any special treatment by regulators, but it goes both ways, and they also have no reason to act against me. But for huge companies, especially disruptors, that's a huge thing. Let's take an extreme example. Jack Ma from Alibaba, or should I say Alibaba Intelligence, the best AI ever. So the guy felt strong and got cocky, and he became a threat to the government, so they cut his head off. In democracies, we can't do that, so we turn public opinion against someone so that nobody cares when we screw them. To understand the following sentence, you should know that my friend's mother is German of Christian origin, while her father was Jewish. 80 years ago, half my ancestors started butchering half my ancestors, and before that, they started treating them like vermin. It was a time of terror, so nobody dared object. But going back to when the Nazis just started kicking Jews in the streets, Germany was still a democracy at that time. So you might think people would object to that, but few did. Moreover, Germany was one of the world's most enlightened democracies. Jews had equal rights and considered themselves first and foremost German citizens, just of Jewish origin. I don't have to tell you that. You told me your grandpa was a German engineer and his father was a doctor, and they felt like ordinary German citizens who just happened to be Jewish instead of Catholics or Protestants. So when Nazis started kicking the Jews, you might think that normal people would have objected, only they didn't. And that was because the Nazis started demonizing the Jews, making people feel something's wrong with them, so that some actively hated them, and others just turned a blind eye to civil rights of Jews being removed one by one. Jews were presented as hoarding money and richer than other Germans, yet unwilling to do their part. They were shown as a danger to peaceful Germans, etc., etc. So most people either didn't give a to what happened to them or actively wanted them to disappear. We are light years away from Nazi Germany, and we're not even close to communist China. But you know what? It's not Tesla fans that are making the rules. Politicians around the world are funded by big oil and big auto, which don't want Tesla, so the tables are tilted against Tesla from the get-go. In this case, I don't think that making it personal for these politicians is very beneficial to Tesla's mission. And if that's the case, you really don't want to give rule makers even more reasons to f Tesla up, while also giving the media-drinking public reasons to feel Tesla is bad and Elon is a bad guy. So it's fine or even right to tilt the tables against them. You want some examples? Here goes. Last time I checked, Giga Berlin didn't have permits yet. So as unbelievable as it seems, they can tell Tesla to tear everything down and return that cardboard plantation. Do I think it would happen? No, I don't, even if Laschet wins the election. But it is possible. Just over 500 years ago, Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that although the prince should always keep his word, the prince always has good reasons to change his mind. This means that if politicians really want to screw Tesla, they can find some good enough reason in later meetings, such as one of the crazy green organizations providing evidence that groundwater reservoirs are getting polluted, and there was too little rain in the last few years, so levels are getting critical and they have to rethink. Or maybe some technical detail in subsection 16 of Article 43 was misspelled, so Tesla need to apply all over again. Something like that. You know, it's like a cop car sitting on your tail every day and following you till you make the slightest mistake. But again, although possible, I don't see it happening. Let's say 3% probability. What's more likely is they stall and take their time. How much does every day in opening the factory cost Tesla? Every good German will appreciate all the formalities and checks not being rushed through until every T has been crossed and every umlaut has been dotted. You won't find anyone thinking Tesla was treated unfairly there. If anything, people will grumble they're favorably treated if things are rushed. I don't really follow how much time after the elections there should be a new government, but let's hope that the outgoing one and the incoming one won't have reasons to mess with Tesla, because even if they are given the permit, they might be forced to change something before that, or more likely just wait. And wait, and wait, and wait, until everything is right and the permit is given. Every day of delay could cost Tesla a lot, not to mention that nobody's waiting for them, and Chinese competitors are meanwhile ramping up like crazy. If legislators want to inflict pain, high possibility that we'll see this happen. Here's food for thought. Had it been Chairman Xi saying this about hydrogen, do you see Elon mocking the question? If you think Elon wouldn't, yet he did let himself speak otherwise in Germany, this only means he's expecting fair play and dismissing what Western governments can do. That, in my eyes, is a huge mistake. So much for Giga Berlin. Now let's talk robotaxis. Let's imagine a parallel universe where it's GM that's leading autonomy, and they show with their numbers how it is saving lives. Any U.S. government, from whichever party, would let them run ahead with it. No problem. But Tesla is not GM, and GM is funding the government, so legislators have reasons to f Tesla over. And if Elon makes fun of the government, like ridiculing Laschet, or telling SEC what their acronym stands for, or speaking his mind publicly against the people in power, then suddenly it's not just repaying their sponsors anymore because he just made it personal for them, and they actively want to ensure that he fails. As I said, I'm no threat to any government, but someone as powerful as Elon, if he publicly disses them, he's considered a threat that should be dealt with. So, they want to Jack Ma him, but this being a democracy, they first need the public to turn a blind eye. Remember what I told you about the Jews, that they're rich but don't pull their own weight? Bernie had him on his crosshairs long ago, so too easy to show Elon as a rich bastard. I already heard several times that, quote, Elon thinks that he shouldn't pay taxes because he's taking us to Mars. So you know it's a damn lie, and I know it's a damn lie, but a friend of mine that is really intelligent, I tell you that, he fully believes it, because that's what he hears everywhere. Go figure. You guys should really open your ears to what's going on with regular people outside your echo chamber. I don't mean Tesla Q, I mean regular people who get their info from the news and internet. A lot of them love Elon, but too many think he's an asshole. They also think Bezos is an asshole, by the way, but not in a way that they would want to tie Bezos down. With Elon, it's different. And remember how I said Jews were shown to spell danger? It's too easy to show autopilot and FSD is dangerous. They already do that now, so it's too easy to put the pedal to the metal on that. The press will gladly join forces on that, and if Tesla continues to give them the silent treatment, except maybe some angry tweets by Elon, You're giving public opinion to the haters without a fight. So good luck finding wide support for approving a so-called dangerous technology by a company motivated by greed with a strange and reckless CEO that calls himself king. Just clarifying that I'm saying what people will think. I actually love this title, not to mention that it refers to his being CTO, not CEO. When I heard about this title, I wanted to put this on my own desk at work, only that would have been tacky, as if copying him. So I put Techno Bitch, and that name stuck. The good thing is that it lowers barriers, so even new guys feel at ease arguing with me at meetings. I want that. Elon does too, despite outranking me by about 42 levels. That's rare. Anyway, I digress. So back to Tesla. I asked you how much every day of delaying the Gigafactory would cost Tesla, but that's peanuts comparing to what delaying autopilot could do to them. If the bastards stall autonomous driving just enough so the competition will catch up, you can imagine how that could hurt Tesla's chances of grabbing the market. I asked her whether she really thinks FSD could be delayed for 5 years or more, till GM and Ford catch up. The thought of this amused her, and she continued. I don't see them delaying it 5 years, but it's not GM and Ford that I have in mind, not even Cruise or Waymo. But let's consider them for a second. There's a good chance that given 2 years or so, they'll be able to launch a viable Robotaxi service in the geofenced area. That's later than Tesla. But if Tesla is delayed a bit, they'll be neck and neck. So sure, their service would be much more limited, but if they manage to scale up in just a few major cities, that's all that's needed to take most of today's ride-hailing market. If they grab a few profitable cities, and Tesla has to start in lower echelon ones, this could be hard. And by the time Tesla's ready to attack the Waymo and Cruise cities, these companies will have an even better service than before, and they'll form local monopolies that would be hard for Tesla to breach. Delaying would be bad, even compared to Cruise and Waymo, but it's not them I had in mind. Mobileye is sharp. Sure, they use Lidar, but mostly as an aid, and they mainly rely on vision. They know Lidar is redundant, just don't have the balls to remove it, so they use it as a backup. And they don't even need street mapping, because the first car to get on a road can drive it on vision alone, just like a Tesla does, and it uses its Lidar to map it. And then the next cars driving that road can use that data for reference, and they improve the mapping even more. And I know you guys think Tesla has a huge data lead, but that's only partly correct because there are millions of cars using Mobileye. And while older versions don't pass much data upstream, newer ones definitely do. In fact, Mobileye has a thriving business selling this uploaded data to others, such as telling municipalities about potholes, etc. So sure, Tesla's in the lead, but Mobileye, I know some of the guys there, and they're also first rate, and their CEO has great focus too. And they aren't too proud to copy Tesla. We all copy whatever things we read that can help us, so politicians only need to delay Tesla by just a year or two for them to lose their first mover's advantage. And so far, I only talked about the West. I didn't even mention Chinese companies, which could absolutely dominate in China. Since I knew that she isn't into autonomous driving, I raised an eyebrow and asked her how it is that she knows all this. She started laughing and said, "Okay, you got me. In this case, I personally know some guys that work in Mobileye, but the other stuff, I guesstimated what you'll ask me about and did some homework before our discussion, and closed any knowledge gaps that I noticed. This goes well with the Laschet and groundwater incident. If I'm taking the time to talk to you about all this, I might as well do the extra 5% needed to assure we achieve the goals." I asked her what the goals were that she was trying to achieve, and she answered that it was to have an enjoyable conversation while providing the best possible answers she could give, with well-formed opinions on anything I might want to know, not just momentary feelings. We're friends, and I previously helped her a lot, so it makes her happy whenever she gets a chance to repay me. Back on topic, she continued. I guess we discussed the issue long enough, so let's converge. Going back to my previous analogy, if GM had a system that saves lives, the government wouldn't stop them. They would make it mandatory. But had the government tried to block GM, GM would shout foul all over the press, and their friends in the media would amplify it, and there would be huge public backlash about how GM is advancing safety and saving lives. But the politicians in charge don't care about people dying. This would be enough to ensure that any such plans would get buried. But if the government slows Tesla down, they'll cherry-pick data to show how unsafe Tesla is, and the media will amplify this, and Tesla would find few friends outside their fan base. Bottom line is, Tesla gets delayed, and the others can close gaps. The thing that kills me most is that Tesla is, in my eyes, the greatest American story of this century, and they're doing so many things right technically, and so many things right morally, but also doing everything wrong when it comes to public opinion and handling the regulators. I do hope they don't pay a huge price for deciding that having a great product is the only thing that counts. What we have till now is more than enough to chew on, and I don't want to delay this video even further. So I'll break now and give my own thoughts, and I'll soon release the rest of our conversation in a third and final video. Let's start with the first section. My friend found Tesla's overall approach impressive, like nothing she ever saw elsewhere. They're taking a holistic approach and tackle every aspect of the work, from sensing hardware to training hardware, and everything in between. They have a great team as it is, and will hire additional exceptional AI designers. Despite all this, they're maintaining tight focus and know which roads to tackle and which to dismiss. I found this extremely bullish for Tesla and Tesla stock. This is the core of Tesla's chance to win Robotaxis, the Tesla bot, and artificial general intelligence. So it's extremely positive for me to get this confirmation that their AI is indeed next level. My friend also supported ditching Lidar and radar. I didn't doubt it myself, but considering the recent Missy Cummings nomination and the attacks on Tesla's FSD showing it is unsafe, it's great to get this extra confirmation from someone in the know. My friend said Tesla's techniques are cutting edge, though not everything that they showed is ahead of the pack. However, she said that they only showed us enough to make AI Day effective, and there are newer things that they didn't show. She also added that their methodology is impressive and thorough, and their management has the engineering know-how to choose which roads to explore. As an investor and Tesla fan, all this is extremely encouraging. This is exactly what can get them to win autonomous driving and AGI, while companies such as Waymo go deep into dead ends. The point she made about Tesla making their own chips is spot on. It's all a matter of unit price, which means they will probably make FSD chips if they get to many millions of cars per year. And they'll make a robot and Dojo chips if the numbers support it. Let me know below whether you think Tesla will make its own chips. Her other idea of reducing chip costs by Tesla developing a breakthrough alternative to current fabs is a moonshot, but an exciting one. If you know anything about Tesla's hiring in the field, please let me know in the comments below or by DMing me on Twitter. The cost of training was eye-opening. Recently, Cathie Wood said that the cost of training AI goes down by 60% every year. But according to my friend, their own demand grows even faster than prices fall, so they end up spending more and more, and training takes longer. My friend said she isn't too optimistic about Tesla offering Dojo as a service. Now we arrive at risks. I agree with her that something happening to Elon is a risk. I also agree that the company will remain successful in that case, but that new ideas, which might already be priced into the stock at the time, may not necessarily become a reality. I don't know Diess well enough to comment on her observation. It does make sense, though, that Diess is a Tim Cook, but Tesla also needs a Steve Jobs to continue its exponential growth beyond cars and storage. Tell me in the comments below whether you think Diess would make a good replacement, or if you support the Tim Cook versus Steve Jobs analogy. Obviously, I like Elon a lot and admire his abilities and perseverance. I'm sure the same goes for you. I also agree he's Tesla's biggest asset. Regarding him being a risk, it's a bit more complicated than my friend sees it. I suggested to my friend, regarding the Berlin Gigafactory event, that maybe she's making too much out of one bad appearance, but she said it's far from an exception. There are other such cases, not to mention tweets. If he was too tired, he should have called in sick, or be aware of that and better control himself. Either option would have produced a better outcome. I do agree that the Laschet event went horribly bad. I too cringed when Laschet asked Elon regarding fuel cells, and Elon mocked the question saying it's a fool cell. Sure, that question was clueless, but no more so than what other politicians would ask, and being shown by Elon as a fool right before the elections is not a way to win friends.
What a very impressive visit here in this Gigafactory. This is the future of energy, the future of sustainability. What is the future of cars? Hydrogen or
definitely electric.
Yeah,
Hydrogen's a waste of time.
But es gibt einen Wissenschaftsstreit. Da ist ein wissenschaftlicher Streit.
I have little knowledge regarding the water problem. I too laughed at that question being asked in rainy Germany, but if my friend says the water deficit is real, there's no need for me to even check it. People don't need too many reasons to form negative opinions nowadays. Cancel culture is a real thing, and being told by a rich American who's about to bankrupt the local automakers that their problems aren't real, that's bad. Even if the problem really was a fluke, which isn't the case here, this should have been handled differently.
One question, critics say that Tesla is stealing water from the region.
This region has so much water. Look around you.
But the local supply says there's no more water for the development stage.
No, this is completely wrong. It's like water everywhere here. Does this seem like a desert to you?
Okay, danke schön.
It's ridiculous.
What do you expect?
It rains a lot.
And my friend is right regarding the Laschet event not being a fluke. Take that earnings call a couple of years ago, when Elon said the analyst questions are boring, and went on to answer say questions. I found it funny, back then, but to be honest, my friend is right here. Put yourself in the shoes of an analyst who, granted, doesn't really understand Tesla, but is there at the call representing a large number of shareholders. So this analyst asked the question that he sees as important for understanding where Tesla is going, and Elon does what he did. This A, publicly ridicules the analyst, he won't be any friend of Tesla's in the near future, and B, gives the impression that Elon either has something to hide or just isn't serious and came there to play, not work.
So I think our letter says most of it, but I think we're going to spend extra time on Q&A and try to answer as many questions as possible. So we're going to go as long as there are good questions to answer.
So we are leaving ourselves some discretion here to go spend money where needed.
And so where specifically will you be in terms of
You're
capital
next.
requirement?
Next. Boring bonehead questions are not cool. Next.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Joseph Stack with RBC Capital Markets.
The first question is related to the Model 3 reservations. Like of the reservations that actually opened and made available to configure, can you let us know like what percentage have actually taken the step to configure?
We're going to go to YouTube. Sorry. These questions are so dry. They're killing me.
Thank you. Our next question is from Galileo Russell with Hyperchange.
In his defense, if I recall correctly, this was during production hell, when Elon slept on factory floor and had little rest. So these slips might happen. We're only human. But with Laschet, that excuse doesn't hold. So yes, Elon can be a risk for Tesla, and it's extremely important for investors to openly admit such risks. However, unlike my friend, I don't see this risk materializing, and the reason is that Elon learns from mistakes and tries to be less wrong. The evidence I see of this is Elon's trusting Q3's earnings call in the hands of Zach and Drew. They did a commendable job of presenting the results, providing detailed answers to all questions that didn't touch sensitive areas. It's no coincidence that this was the first earnings call that was followed by a price jump, not the usual dip. So sure, Elon is a huge asset and can be a huge risk, but just like my friend said that she made sure her vices don't fail her, the same goes for Elon. Sure, he can have fun with us on Twitter, but bottom line, in recent years, he has considerably grown as a CEO and techno-king. After finalizing the original recording, things changed. Elon tweet-stormed against UAW, asked Senator Wyden why his PP looks like he came, and more. I wrote Elon grew up as CEO, and he did, but this isn't about growing up. Like my friend said, it's like her going dark when she's off her meds. She worked hard to build protective layers, ensuring this won't happen. Elon slips much more. I'm not sure what to make of it, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. Back to the original recording. Let me know what you think regarding this issue. I really want to know what you think, as crowdsourcing answers can be extremely useful. In particular, let me know what you think about Elon's recent tweet storm regarding the UAW and Biden. Of course, Elon felt he was treated unfairly, but should he have reacted this way? I haven't made my mind up yet on this, so please tell me if you see this as a mistake or as a smart move in a 4D chess game. Let me know in the comments below. The third and final video will complete the risk section by addressing Tesla's Chinese competition, but mostly it will go back to technical aspects of AI Day. In this video, we will speculate what should happen in case Tesla starts growing into CHOAM. We will discuss the Tesla bot, UBI, and Tesla's competitors in the race for a bot and artificial general intelligence. We will see how my friend's company has pivoted and revised their long-term plans following AI Day. I will provide many details about my friend and why she requested to remain anonymous. And we'll wrap things up on what everything we saw means to Tesla's success, valuation, and stock price. Here's a teaser. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe to help me start growing the channel and to get notified on the second part of this video. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. It'll really help me invest more time so I can deliver quality content faster. So if you want to support the channel, you can head over to patreon.com and together we can make this channel grow. A huge thank you to my Patreons, Michael Wayshak, Gene McIntyre, Antonio Cesar Hanson Monte Pagado, Brad Crosby, John Way, Lee Sweet, Sager Mason, Richard Kisei, Bob Nywold, James, Andy Roberts, Michael Plotkin, Andrew Trainer, Sebastian Bergman, Ronald M. Harrison, Katrin L., and Ken Trudell. I truly appreciate your support. I really appreciate your being here. It means a lot. Till next time, I am connecting the dots, and you are amazing.